Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a mosaic stitch granny square. So this square can be made any size, or you can make smaller ones to then sew them together to make a big blanket. So for today we're just going to be working on one about this size, just so you get the idea of the technique and the pattern. Today I'll be using 4 colours plus black. So I've got this dark purple, a bottle green, a blue, and then a light blue. As you can see here, it probably looks more white on my camera, but fair enough. So with this pattern, you want to be really choosing one colour as your constant colour. So my constant colour through this pattern would be my black, because that's really going to show off the stitch pattern. And if I turn it round, you can see it a little bit better. So you can see each row we do, we are actually changing yarns. So there's a lot of ends to sew in as well. So I'm just using this double knit. The next best thing to the one I'm using would be by Stylecraft. Just for an example there, plus my black, which is hiding, which is here. So I'm only going to use these and see how far I get. I do have more black on hand because I probably will need it. So that being said, with the yarn, you can use any yarn you like though. You're going to need a crochet hook, a yarn needle, and a trusty pair of snippers. Right, so follow me on and we'll just dive straight in. Right, so my first colour on this square is going to be purple. So what I'm going to do is a slip knot onto my hook, and then I'm going to make a chain 4 loop. So to do that, we're going to chain 4 times. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and slip stitch back into your first chain, like so, and through, and then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. So this pattern basically starts off like a granny square. It builds up like a granny square, apart from there's a slight difference because we've got some different stitch in there. So what we're going to do is yarn over and work back through the centre hole. And just find that. There we go. And we are going to do 2 double crochets. So there's 1. And there's 2. Then we're going to chain 2 because we're making a corner, and we're going to place in another 3 double crochets. So this is making our beginning shells. So 1, 2 and 3, straight into that centre. I am working over my beginning yarn tail so I can pull it a bit tighter. So another corner, so we chain 2. And then we go back in and do another 3 double crochets. So there's 1, 2 and 3. So now we have 3 sides and 2 corners. So time to make the rest. So chain 2, and then again back into this middle space. You want to be doing another 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Make our final corner by chaining 2 and slip stitch into the top of your chain 3 to close the round. Right, so that's basically round 1, which is the same as any normal granny square. So follow me back on for round 2. Okay then, round 2. So we're not going to cut our yarn just yet, because I always like to do 2 rounds of the colour at the beginning of a pattern, just to save you changing yarn straight away. So we're going to slip stitch across into this corner. So we never have to turn our work for this. We just slip stitch, and these slip stitches do disappear into your work eventually. So you can barely see them there. Right, so now I'm in that corner, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and do a shell, a beginning shell. So beginning shell is a chain 3 with 2 double crochet, and then we're making a corner, so it's a chain 2, and into this chain 2 corner space another 3 double crochets. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's number 3. Right, so now we're technically working across a side, so on all your sides in between your shells you want to put a chain 1, and now we're back over to a corner. So our corners is 3 double crochet, so 1, 2 and 3, followed by a chain 2 for your corner, and then another 3 double crochets all in that chain 2 corner space. So there's 1, 2 and 3. So now we're back onto a side, you chain 1, and then now we're working back into a corner. So again, that is 3 double crochets, so that's 2 and 3, chain 2 for your corner, and then another 3 double crochets in that chain 2 corner space. So 1, 2 and 3. Again, we're now working on a side. Hope this is showing up well enough on camera. I do have a lamp directly above today because it is a bit gloomy outside. So, since we are on a side, chain 1, and then we're back into this chain 2 corner space. So that's another 3 double crochets here. So 1, 2 and 3, chain 2, and then another 3 double crochets in that chain 2 corner space. So 1, 2 and 3, and we are back on a side just before this other corner. So you still do your chain 1 because we always need that chain 1 now, and then we're just going to slip stitch into the top of this chain 3 right here, and slip stitch again, and again, and that is the end of round 2. So follow me back on for round 3. Right, so this is the beginning of round 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm leaving enough to sew my ends in afterwards. I normally make one full square before I start weaving my ends in, because otherwise you're stopping and starting every 2 minutes. So I am using black again, so I will try and be a little closer to the camera for you today. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through here through that corner space. Make sure you have a good amount of yarn on the end. Hook over, and I'm just holding this my yarn tail, and I'm just going to pull that colour straight through, nice and tight, and then I'm going to chain 3. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Normally for the beginning of a round for this corner, I always work over these 2 yarn tails from the previous row. So since we're in a corner, we're going to do 2 double crochets because that chain 3 counts as a stitch, chain 2 and 3 double crochets just over them tails and into that chain 2 corner space. So that's 1, there's 2, and here comes number 3. So I'm not going to cut these. I'm not going to do anything else with them. I'm just going to forget about them until the end of my square. If you're going to be making a giant granny square using this stitch, do like 5 or 6 rounds and then go back and weave your ends in, because if you wait until the end, it's just going to really be quite annoying. Right, so what we're going to do is, since we're on a side, chain 1. Now this is where the fun starts, and this is where where we start getting these ridges in the centre. So to do these, the shell, what we're going to be doing is 1 double crochet into the next chain 1 side space, and then we're going to yarn over twice. I can't remember the name of this, I think it's a treble. Yarn over twice, and then directly in the row underneath we're going to work a front post stitch round this middle stitch. So to front post stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and under, and then yarn over. I'm kind of folding my project as I do this, and pull through. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through your final 2 loops. So that makes an extended stitch which will stretch from where we are down to a row underneath. And then to finish the shell off, I'm going to yarn over once and go through the top row and do a double crochet. As easy as that. So chain 1, because we're still working on the side here, and then do your corner shells into this chain 2 corner space right here. So that is a 3 double crochets, 2 and 3. Again, I apologise for using black, but hey, I'm being quite descriptive today, so you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing. So I'm in my corner, so that's a chain 2, and then another 3 double crochets in that corner chain 2 corner space. So that's 1, 2, and number 3. On the side again, so chain 1, and then into the next chain 1 side space, we're going to do 1 double crochet, yarn over twice for a treble, and then go to the shell directly underneath, and we're doing a front post stitch round that middle stitch of the shell under. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2, and that finishes that stitch. So we need to finish off that shell, so it's a double crochet in the same space. So up here, not down here. Chain 1, and then we're in a corner again, so that's 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and another 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to finish the rest of this round off camera, and I will join you back for round 4. Right, welcome to round 4. So I've cut my black yarn, leaving enough to weave in, and after I've done my slip stitches here, and I'm using my next colour, which is green. So again, we're going to go through the chain 2 corner space. Make sure you leave enough to be able to weave in afterwards, and keep your finger holding the end of that yarn tail, and just pull up a loop and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And again, I'm going to grab my 2 tails from the previous round. Well, it's one from this round, one from the last. And I'm just going to do my beginning corner shell over those 2 tails. It just stops anything coming apart whilst you're working. So that's a chain 3 and 2 double crochet, a chain 2, and 3 double crochet in that corner chain 2 space. So 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm just going to kind of maneuver these tails out of the way. Right, so now we're on the side. What we want to do is chain 1, and then into your next chain 1 space, which is this one right here, we are going to do 1 double crochet, and we're going to yarn over 2 for a treble, and now we're going directly underneath here into this middle stitch on the row below. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, which finishes the stitch. Then back up a level for a double crochet in that chain 1 space, and voila. So what we're going to do is chain 1, move over to the next chain 1 space on that side and do a double crochet, yarn over twice, and then jump down a row, and we're doing a front post stitch round that middle stitch of that cluster. So the basic idea does basically the same as a granny stitch, apart from these extended stitches linking rows together. It makes a really nice texture, and makes the blanket also a lot thicker and a lot more robust. Right, so I've got my chain 1, and then I'm just into a corner again. So that's 3 double crochets. That's 3, chain 2, and another 3 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 because we're back on the side, and then we're going to work into this chain 1 space on this side. So it's 1 double crochet, yarn over twice, and then jump down a row into that middle stitch, round that middle stitch on the in that cluster, pull through 2, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2, and then again jump back up a row into the same chain 1 space and finish that cluster off with a chain with a double crochet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish the rest of this row off camera, and then we will be changing colours again on the next row back to black. Right, welcome to round 5. So what we're going to do is I'm switch my colour back to my main colour, black. Don't know why I'm using a lot of black in my tutorials at the moment. I do really apologise. It's just I normally make tutorials for whatever I'm deciding to make on on whatever project I'm doing. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to work over these 2 tails again and do a corner shell. That's 2 double crochet. We'll get there eventually. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets to complete that corner. That's 1, 2, and 3, just like any other granny square really. Yeah, you can see that a bit better. So getting those tails out of the way now, and chain 1, and then in the next chain 1 space what we have across here, this one right there, that's where we're going to do our next cluster. So it's a double crochet, then yarn over twice and jump down into the cluster directly underneath it. Unfortunately mine's a black one at the moment, and do a treble, front post treble on that stitch, and then we're jumping back up a row where we're finishing that cluster off with a double crochet, and you want to chain 1 because we're now working on the side, and move on to your next chain 1 space for another cluster. This time we have this little front post stitch here. I'll just put my thumb behind it. So what we're going to do is that's what we're working around now. So rather than this is technically your middle stitch now. And there we go. It does start to get a little bit easier once you have more of these raised up areas, because you don't even have to look for a stitch. You go, oh, there I am. There we go. So moving on. and it's just that one right underneath. And then finish that stitch off with a double in the row above. Chain one, and then I'm back to a corner. So your corners in this pattern, the corners are always the same, which is 3 double crochets, a chain 2 and 3 double crochets. That's my 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then I'm back onto a side, and you're just going to continue doing the same stitch repeat all the way around. So I'll make this my last cluster, and then I can just show you where we're at. So as you can see, we're starting to get these lines what are radiating out this way, and then as we change these colours, the actual colours, not the black, we start getting this striping coming across like this. So I will see you in a moment for round 6. Right, welcome to round 6. Just double check, yep, round 6. So again, I'm changing colour onto something a little easier to see this time. And I'm just going to join the same as I've been doing. So I'm going to pop that through, pull up loop, just give that last yarn tail a little tug, and then chain 3. So basically every row is the same, apart from you end up with more spaces to go into, like you do with any granny square. The trick to this particular pattern with the striping effect is basically your colour changes. You know, so this is a really good project where you can do quite a few different things with it. You can either do it in plain yarn, which looks really nice, really good for homeware, like cushions and stuff like that, or you can choose a self-striping cake, yarn cake, like something like Karen cakes, or yeah, anything like that. If you don't want to do all the colour changes, you don't have to. It's just for this particular one to get the striping effect, then you do. Right, so now I've done my corner. I'm going to chain 1, and we are going back into this chain 1 space. So this first cluster, you always have to actually go round a stitch here rather than round a loopy bit. It's just how it works out. So yarn over twice, and front post in that stitch in the cluster underneath, and then finish that with a double crochet. So by now you should get the idea on the stitch pattern repeat, and then that's going under this big loop. This is where it starts to get a bit easier, because you can just grab the loops and fold your work over and you know exactly where you are and what you're doing, rather than trying to weave in behind a stitch. And then into the next chain 1 space with a double crochet and then a treble round this treble. And a double crochet in the row above to finish the cluster. So it's, you know, so like I said, it's a nice and easy stitch. The trick is in all your colour changes. You know, this one would look really nice if you did if you swap the black out for red and then sequenced through like a yellows and oranges. That looked absolutely fabulous. It looked like fire. Or you could do pastel rainbow and white. That'd look really nice if you're making for a baby. I'm just doing my corner stitch, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So I'm not really doing anything different. But you can see we're starting to we're starting to build our square up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I will finish this round, and then I'll come back, and basically that's all there is to this pattern. You just keep going and do as many rounds as you want. But what I'll do is I'll just finish this round off camera, then I'll come back and show you the finished look. Right, so that was the end of round 6 I've just done, and basically I'm going to stop the tutorial here. I wanted to keep this one nice, short and sweet, but with still giving you enough information on colour choices and where to do your colour changes. So you can make these as big as you like or as small as you like. You can keep it just at a few rounds like this one and make lots and join them together. I will be making a video soon on how to join all these squares together, if that's what you're deciding to do with this project. So make sure you like this video and hit that subscribe button, and then you'll be notified for any future videos coming up. I do plan on many more. So thank you for watching today, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.